So then, shall we begin? Yes. What we should ponder first is the victim who lost his life in the cabin that was bolted shut from the inside. What was truly an uncomfortable accident? Or was it, in fact, no accident at all? That is what we must establish in the first instance. But we already established it, haven't we? The man tripped over the kitten and had climbed into his cabin via the ventilator. Tragic, yes, but it's still an accident.
Hold it!
Wait. Let's just take a step back. It doesn't make sense if that's really what happened, does it? I'm going to have to ask you to spell it out for me, I'm afraid. Yes, it's starting to take shape now. There's a clear contradiction between the facts of Miss Pavlova's story here. The evidence is right there in Kazuma's cabin. It's undeniable. His death couldn't possibly have been a mere accident. Really? Let us show our hand, Mr. Naruto. Time to present the evidence. The evidence that proves unequivocally the victim's death was no mere than an accident. Okay, I really don't know, for example, because it can't be these. It can't be these. But the only thing... That's right. If it was an accident. Why is it written in Russian?
Yes!
The truth is clearly recorded in this photographic print. Yeah, why would he write in Russian? There's no way Mr. Isugi could have left this message on the floor. That script, it's Russian, isn't it? Yeah, but he doesn't know Russian. Indeed it is. The word written means wardrobe. Why would he frame it? I see what you mean. Most people would leave a dying message in their native language, Japanese in this case. Exactly. But maybe he was studying Russian. Nope, he was not. In his simple language, he could have picked it up very fast. That doesn't seem likely. That's actually not the point. It makes no difference whether he knew Russian or not. Which he didn't. Sorry, what do you mean? Exactly what I said before. There's no way Mr. Isugi could have left this message on the floor. And the reason why, it's clearly explained in here. Exactly, he died instantly. Damage to the cervical vertebrae and resulting to instant death. Instant death! Oh. Which means, after the victim fell to the floor, he couldn't possibly have written anything. Because he was already dead. That's not the only reason either. There's something else we found in Mr. Isugi's cabin. A remnant of something that couldn't possibly have been there if what Miss Pavlova told us was true. What? So Susato-san has noticed it too then. Putting this message on the floor aside, there's something else that gives the truth away. Another piece of evidence that proves there was no accident. In other words, the bell. Why is it still there? Honestly, but I don't know. I would say the bell. Can't be these four now. It can't be this. We already proven it. We could just say, oh, the cat and the bell, and obviously, but no. Why is there the bell broke off, as you notice right here. So how was she able to get the other piece of the bell? Interesting.
Yes!
This piece of broken glass next to the mark of the floor. But that's the glass bell the kitten had around its neck. We already know all about that. Let's see. Oh, sorry. It was broken in half when the victim tripped over the cat and fell. Exactly, half broken. Why does Miss Pavlova have it? So we already had a satisfactory explanation. Where's the flaw in that logic? Unfortunately, there's a very big flaw, a fatal flaw. What? If that's really what happened, Then how did one half of the bell end up here in this cabin? Oh. Yes, I remember where we found it. The other half of the glass bell was in the waste paper basket. Would you care to explain that, Miss Pavlova? Ooh, we're getting to it now. Oh no. Both these pieces of evidence clearly point to the same conclusion. That when Mr. Asugi died last night in this cabin, there was someone else in the room. And that same person deliberately arranged the scene to disguise the truth. In order to cover up his or her own guilt. Girl, you've done it now. Yes, there was someone else present in Mr. Asugi's.
Hold it! You're wasting time! Someone else was there, of course! We know this!
What are you talking about?
Bulkhead was bolted shut from the inside. There was no other way in around.
Oh yes.
And the only other person incompetent when young student died was you!
Yes!
It's true. I was in the cabin when it happened. You were shut inside the cabin wardrobe, to be precise about the details. But I don't know Russian. There's no way I would have left that message. Not would have. There's no way you could have left that message. To be precise about the details. Would you mind? Forgive me, my dear fellow. As I was saying, the person in question wrote the wardrobe in Russian on the floor in an attempt to incriminate me for the crime, even though I had been asleep in there the entire time. And then, the same person picked up the broken glass bell that had fallen to the floor for fear of it becoming evidence that would show how Mr. Suki really died. But why wouldn't this person have taken all the pieces of the bell away? Leaving half behind and was always going to raise questions. Yes, well, it was past 1 o'clock in the early hours of the morning. The cabin would have been quite dark. The single small lamp suspended the ceiling would barely have cast any light onto the floor there. Little wonder, then, Nick Hope failed to notice a fragment of a tiny item. I'm glad that they explained that, honestly. Like, it could be just common sense, like, it could be too dark. You all suspect me, don't you? Statement strong enough.
Nina is a woman of sea. She is daughter of a strong sailor. 2 years ago, they noticed her dancing skills and she went away to join ballet company. But before, she was a dancer on the ship, a member of ship's band. You do not accuse ship's angel for being criminal.
Ah, so that's it.
You say that when young student died, Nina was there in this cabin. But that is not possible. I give my tooth.
Well, this is almost interesting. And why would you give your tooth, Brian? How could you be so sure?
You are a great detective. You should know. Look, truth in eyes. Cabin bulkhead was bolted shut from inside. Nobody could go into a cabin. Not Nina, not anyone. Or you want to tell me that a killer can walk through locked doors? Niet! It's impossible!
He's right. But wait, I've read about this detective stories, alright? People often tie thread into the door. We already explained that! Around door latches so they can open the closed door from the outside. Well, You just told it it's shut tight. You repeatedly can't.
Thread, are you stupid? These bulkheads are not barn doors.
Certainly not. These are watertight doors, as one could expected to find on any modern steamship. Constructed of heavy steel, with not a gap inside, no threads or needles or magnets could have been used. No, of course not. I thought so too. Why do you say it? But Mr. Naruto suggested it earlier, so... Sasanta-san! How can you shift it onto me like that? I do like how, that dialogue right there was from an observation. You can go through the game. Actually, I don't know. Can you go through the game without checking the observation? I don't know about that. I know the other games you can, but I don't know about this one. So seeming strong enough has a valid point. The cabin door couldn't have been bolted from the outside. Not necessarily.
What?
I put it to you that I could bolt this cabin door without laying a finger on it. What? Ooh, I think he knows. We know now. In this very cabin, we can see the traces of the method I have in mind having been used before. I don't believe it. Well, Mr. Naruto, I believe you know what I mean, don't you? A way to shut the bolt of the cabin door from the outside. One way does spring to mind, yes. Do you really know what Mr. Shum means, Mr. Naruto? Yes, and so should you. Because we've seen it happen. Indeed we have. So, would you care to do the honors, Mr. Naruto? Point and tell the signs of the method that was used to slide the cabin door across the boat from the outside. Well, really guess that's not that. If we really want to know, it's the only evidence that we haven't cleaned up.
Yes!
Look at the bookcase there. See how the books and the things on it have toppled over? That must have happened when the ship made its emergency stop before. Yes, that's right. It's a very powerful vessel after all. When the engines are thrown into reverse, the violent jolt goes across the entire ship. Many small objects are fastened down and bound to fall over. I believe, yes, it's what's known as the force of inertia acting on the objects. Is there something? Is there nothing Sasanta-san doesn't know, or that isn't in her book at least? Well, whatever it's called, the same force that pushed over these books on the bookcase also made something else in the cabin move. I like how she does have everything in that book. Like, it's what she knows, honestly. That's so cool. She has everything in that book. The bolt on the cabin door. It was very obvious just after the emergency stop that the ship made earlier. We had come into this cabin not long before, and we hadn't bolted the door. But then... Hello? Is anybody in there? Shout out if you need assistance. Oh, that sounds like... Inspector Hosonaga. Oh yes. That's it! When the ship stopped suddenly, the boat flew across the locked door. Yes. And it's made of metal, but it's small and light enough to be moved by the ship's sudden change of speed. Or the force of the inertia, whatever, that was inertia, if you want to call it that. Are you trying to say that last night, after Mitsusugi was killed? Damn. They made a cutscene like that. The SS Buria made another emergency stop. Yeah. When I woke up in the morning and looked around the cabin, I thought it looked a little odd. All the books and the shelves had toppled over, and all the old ornaments. It was almost as if someone had run their hand across the bookshelves and deliberately knocked everything over. Oh yes, I remember that. You blamed that on me! And I stood them all up again, didn't I? Then when we came into this cabin, we were surprised to see that same thing happening here. All the books and everything had toppled over, just like in Mr. Sugi's cabin. Oh my! Do you have anything to say about this, Miss Pavlova?
Are you out of your mind? You say Maria had made emergency stop.
It does seem a little far-fetched, but how could that possibly have happened? Unless you're saying that the culprit is actually someone from the engine room.
Oh,
It is simple enough. Are you forgetting the button on the passageway outside? Used to trigger the emergency alarm. Oh yes, of course. There was a notice, wasn't there? Telling you only to press the button in the times of emergency. On dark nights, when the fog is dense, the captain cannot afford to rely on the eyes of his lookout alone. Hence the placement of the number of buttons around the vessel to allow any crewmen to raise the alarm. The sort of button one is almost compelled to press to satisfy one's curiosity.
wait, it was you?
When the button was pressed, two things happened that in the interest of safety. The emergency alarm bells rings, and the vessel comes to a complete stop. As indeed, it did a little earlier today. Mr. Sholmes, surely it wasn't you who... As I always say, a button has but one purpose in life. To be pressed, whatever the occasion. He sounds almost proud of himself.
How dare you mess with ship? I report to you to Captain. You are in much trouble now.
Now, I'm sure all that can wait until later. Let us not overlook the fact that we have now learned a valuable lesson. When the vessel makes an emergency stop, the boats on the cabin doors slide across. So what we must now consider... Yes, it all comes to one thing now. Last night, after what happened to Mr. Sugi, did this ship make an emergency stop or did it not?
You are idiots! Maria is a huge ship with many passengers, and we have an emergency stop, even in the middle of night. There would be chaos everywhere.
What are your thoughts, Mr. Naruto? Well, it's certainly possible that some kind of emergency happened last night. We have evidence to support that idea. Really? What evidence, Mr. Naruto? Fascinating. Do show us, my good man. We do? What evidence promotes the theory that some emergency gripped this vessel last night? We do? What evidence do we have? That's right. He didn't report anything.
Yes!
Seemed strong enough. It's your duty in patrol to the first class area on the ship, isn't that right?
That is correct. Why?
The ship's log here. This would be where you record the details of your duties.
What are you saying with that? What are you doing with that? That is mine!
You rather carelessly left it on top of the little makeshift burrow in the passageway with it out there. But as responsible passengers, we took it into our care with a mind to return it to you later.
I left it there on purpose. That is where I put it always. The
point is, looking at what you usually record, it's clear that you have a normal it's clear that normal circumstances, you write the phrase "nothing to report," even every 30 minutes. But from 2 o'clock last night until first light this morning, nothing was recorded at all. Nothing recorded at all in the log.
That is... because nothing happened.
But if nothing happened, you would normally write nothing to report, wouldn't you?
Oh, gulp in Russia!
Indeed so, which tells us that shortly after 2 a.m., something happened here aboard the SS Buria. Something sufficiently significant to make you forget to fill in the ship's log, in fact. Are you suggesting that the ship really did make an emergency stop in the middle of the night?
Stop talking rubbish!
If I am perfectly honest, I find that a little hard to believe myself. Oh, why? Well, because of something as major as an emergency stop really had happened. Surely all of us would have noticed. Yeah, exactly. I was thinking that. I was like, why didn't no one notice? That's very true. Thanks to the emergency stop we experienced earlier, we all know that what it feels like now. The ship lurched so violently, and the alarm bell was so loud. I can't imagine that anybody would have slept through that, even if it happened in the dead of night. Well, no, that's a good point. Mr. Holmes, you have something to say? What of the throbbing? Sorry? What do you mean? Your head, man. The throbbing of your head since this morning. We all have suffered with it. Oh yes, I have a headache, you're right. In fact, I haven't been feeling myself since I woke up today. Nor have I. My head has been feeling very heavy ever since dawn. Yes, you all been afflicted, haven't you? Just as I suspected. He's right. My head's been throbbing today too. And since eating dinner yesterday evening, everything has felt sort of hazy. I can't really remember anything that happened after I climbed back inside the wardrobe. Then, the first thing I noticed this morning was a throbbing pain in my head. I had already been dragged out of the wardrobe and had these handcuffs put on by that point. Why didn't I wake up when all that was happening to me? Tell me, Mr. Naruto. You boarded this vessel as a stowaway, didn't you? Oh, well, yes, sorry. The stowaway class of combination doesn't usually include meals. What did you survive on? Well, Kazuma looked after me. He was always happy to share his meals. So you enjoyed some of the whole roast chicken dish that was served yesterday evening, I take it? Yes, in fact, I had all of that. Kazuma wasn't fond of chicken. Oh, really? So the victim didn't eat any of the chicken at all? That's right, he didn't touch it. Is that relevant? My dear fellow, does this not strike you? Oh? Mr. Sholmes, do you mean to say that there was something wrong with the chicken? I do. No. Really? Is that really true? The meal prepared for the passengers last night had been tampered with. tampered with by the addiction of a soporific designed to induce a very deep slumber in those who consume it. I also ate the chicken, a sleeping drug. Do you mean whoever did this laced every meal with a sleeping drug so no one would notice the ship's emergency stop? Mr. Naruto, of course that's not what Mr. Sholmes means. What a far-fetched idea. Precisely. Lacing every meal of every passenger on board with a soporific drug would certainly be impossible. Unless, that is, every single member of the crew was a conspirator. What? Mr. Sholmes? What? Well, seamen. I'm sorry to say that any more deception in this matter will get you nowhere. Damn. If you refuse to talk, there will have to be an inquiry made through the shipping company, of course. And were that to happen, every member of the crew and the captain himself would be hauled over the coals. For aiding and abetting a renegade. Ooh. You have nowhere to run now, boy. Please, no more. I will tell everything. I cannot make problems like this for everyone anymore. These crewmen are your former comrades, I believe. Yes, so when I decided to run away, I asked them to help me. We all agreed to help. Everyone together. She threw away everything, her fame in ballet, Mother of Russia. We wanted to help our angel. I don't believe it. You are right. We put sleeping drug in chicken last night. Yes, I remember now. I did notice chewing on a lump of something strange and bitter at one point. Ah, we could not make our drug. How could you say dissolve? Talk about heavy seasoning. At midnight, in water near Shanghai, we brought our angel on board. She was helped by comrade on shore with a small fishing boat, while all the passengers in the SS Buria slept soundly. Thanks to the almost magical effects of the slumber-inducing potion the evening meals had contained. So, if that's what happened, the only people awake on the ship last night were the crew, people who disliked chicken, and the newly boarded passenger, Miss Pavlova. And that means it would have been possible for you. You could have used the emergency stop trick to lock Kazuma's cabin door. But why would you do it? But how does this make sense? Surely every cabinet from the door would have ended locked in that case. There would have been a complete chaos. Oh, I wouldn't say so. What? Of course. Just like us, all the other passengers would have eaten their evening meal of chicken in their cabins. After which they would have been overwhelmed by the tiredness because of the sleeping drug. Quite. And accordingly, all of the passengers were already in their cabins for the night. Yes. The overwhelming majority of the passengers would have habitually sleep with their cabin doors bolted anyway. And so not one of them would have found it remarkable to find the door locked in the morning. In summary, in order to fasten the bolt in a single cabin door on the ship, the culprit brought the entire vessel to an emergency stop in the early hours of the morning. You were in on it too strong enough, weren't you?
You have talked a long time and said many things. What is point?
The point is that it's what I said earlier. And the point is what I said earlier. Sorry if there was like a long pause there, or like a cut. My parents came home and I went to go say hi to them, so yeah. There was somebody else present on the scene when the victim lost his life last night. Someone who had left a message from Russia on the floor in an attempt to incriminate another. Someone who had tried desperately to hide the broken fragments of glass that would reveal the culprit's identity. So there's another person involved, huh? And that's someone who abused the ship's emergency stop procedure in order to lock a door. All told, a busy night. But, I don't know what about any of this. I'm just a little girl.
You like to speak with your English words and explain your clever ideas. But I am a sailor, and sailors don't listen to long, boring stories. We don't believe.
Hey, I bet you're like the chat right now, or the comment section, because they're like, oh god, I can't. I need a I'm just kidding. Like, it's too long. This is why I don't play these games.
Sailors, like me, we trust only what we see with our eyes.
A laudable trait.
What?
I am quite of the same disposition, my good man. Observation to me is everything. Mr. Naruto? Oh, yes? Do you have it? Do you hear it? That accursed cry of guilt of the wind. What accessory guilt of cry? What? Sorry, I couldn't pronounce your words. What did you just say? You lost me. Proofs of involvement, man. But you can't hear such a call with your ears. No! You must hear it with your eyes. Wait, you mean see it. For observation of the basis of all deduction.
What are you talking about?
I believe the time has come. For one final logic and reasoning spectacular. To expose the truth. Ooh, another one. So, Mr. Naruto, your assistance if you please. With what exactly, Mr. Sholmes? With observation, my dear fellow. Just as I said, of those two provocatories, or whatever it says. Observation. If you remember, Mr. Naruto, we know that somebody tried to fabricate evidence, don't we? By tampering the evidence with the scene of Mr. Isugi's death. What we're looking for is some trace of evidence that one of these two was there when it happened. Precisely. You are delightfully quick to grasp my meaning. Alright, I'll see what I can see. We're looking at a trace of evidence that shows someone else was there last night when Kazuma died. Alright, so we kind of know, since someone wrote the word in Russian, we can't assume it was what's his face? It was not Kazuma who wrote it. It's in Russian. So who else would it have to be? Chunky arms. But we're gonna go chunky arms right here. He has his arms like tree trunks, doesn't he? Hairy tree trunks. Yes, he certainly has a sailor's arm. He's born of the sea. Even if I had to been awake, I couldn't have done anything about being dragged out of the wardrobe by this man. Naruto-san, are you alright? You seem to be lost in thought. Oh, sorry. Blame those hairy tree trunks. Blame those hairy tree trunks, he says. We already know about this thing, but the earrings and everything, there's nothing really there. Sadly, I wish there was like, oh, there was a earring at this time, like in this place. Like, no, there wasn't. Have you noticed something significant about the Seaman Strong Enough's hat? No, sadly not. I was thinking about that if only we found Kazuma's cabin, it would be easier all be so easy. That's true. The hat dropped at the scene would have been very conclusive evidence. Oh well. Oh, that's the point. I'm sure I saw a university's uniform hat at that scene somewhere. That's not a point. At least, not when I liked you to make. After all, you're incriminating us. By the way, it's this thing right here. Oh, look at this! It's some sort of kind of stain. It's an unusual place. Hey, this shirt's too small for him. I just realized that. He's just too buff for that. He needs a bigger shirt. Yes, you're right. It looks like the ink. It looks like ink, if I'm not mistaken. Ink. And look at the color too. It's clear where this came from. All right.
Yes!
We discovered the truth. Semen strong enough. You seem to have a quite large purple stain on the back of your white uniform there.
Huh? Ah, yes, I don't know where that dirt comes from.
So nothing in particular comes to mind about the stain.
What are you trying to say?
It would appear the significance of the stain has escaped your attention, Seaman. Allow us to make it plain. The very large purple stain on the back of Miss Seaman Stronginess uniform, and I think what made it clear. Indeed, it is. So, Mr. Naruto, present the evidence that proves it. My pleasure. Alright then, the evidence that proves that the stain on the back of the Seaman Stronginess uniform really is for the player to determine what it is. You look at this thing. Actually, never mind, we don't have it. Where is it? Never mind. I guess it is this.
Yes!
Yes, it's this photograph, and the ink it shows, that's what the cause of the stain on your uniform.
Ink?
Oh, rather unusual color of ink. Purple. The penny drops at last. Now, you see the significance. The Russian word on the floor next to the victim's body was written in the purple ink. And the stain on the back of your uniform is ink of exactly the same color. If the ink has been dried, it couldn't possibly have stained your uniform in that way, which means you must have been present in the cabin in the moment immediately after the ink has spilt.
Alright, yes. It was me. I did it. Everything. I arranged everything in dead student's cabin to make it look like a wardrobe man did it. Then I was pressed a button to make Boria do emergency stop. The bed bolt again shut, doors shut. I did everything and so no one would suspect our angel.
Please.
Don't worry, Angel. Let me do talking. It was after 1 in the morning. I was on duty patrolling passageway. Then our angel came to me. She was white like sheet.
Please, you must help me.
I went with her. The door to the cabin number 1 was open. When I looked inside, I saw student boy on floor. Dead. What? What had been here?
Please, don't tell anyone. My little one, my little furry friend.
Everything had happened in cabin is like Angel told you.
The kitten escaped through the ventilator into Mr. Suki's cabin. Then he tripped over it and broke his neck when he fell on the floor? But why was he... No, the door would have been open regardless.
Yes, that is right.
So after the incident of the cat running away, Miss Pavlova then visited the next door cabin to hers, only to find its occupant lying lifeless on the floor. But how did he find it if the door was closed? Because I feel like Kazuma would have closed it.
She said she was worried when she heard the sound of something falling on the floor. That's when she set her to look. She went to look. No angel. The door was not locked, so she opened the door, opened to look, and you already know what happened after.
There's just one thing. If you wouldn't mind,
What?
when you went to Mr. Suki's cabin, Miss Pavlova, was he already dead? Why?
I already told you. When Nina opened the door to his cabin and locked it.
I was asking Miss Pavlova.
Ooh, I'll shut up now. Sorry, you scared me. I don't want to be thrown like a guy.
Well, Miss Pavlova? Oh. Yes, that is right. I saw him. It was dark, and he was wearing black, but he was on the floor, not moving. I was scared. I understand, and I believe you. Really? So, is this finally it now? Have we discovered the real truth about Kazuma's death at last?